right, we got Rick Saratel on the line from the NFL Draft Bible, and of course, the big weekend is just about 4 weeks away, maybe five, whatever the it should be about 4 weeks away, April 26th, if I do the math correctly. And Rick's breaking down the defense for us, so we'll move on, Rick, to the linebackers.
Yeah, so linebackers, again, I think you have a handful of guys in the first round mix, and we'll start with some inside guys. I think Roquan Smith from Georgia there. He's probably the consensus inside linebacker. I think Malik Jefferson from Texas could sneak into the first round, probably a day two guy. And then, one sleeper at the inside position, Joel Lanning from Iowa State. I mean, obviously making that position change over from quarterback. I mean, this guy had 114 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, making plays all over the field. You've seen him projected anywhere from day 3 to undrafted. So just one interesting name of note. And then, you got guys like Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech and Rashaan Evans from Alabama. I like Evans slightly more over Edmonds. I think Edmonds is a better athlete. He's tested phenomenally. I'm just not sure he's as polished as a Rashaan Evans. And I think, these guys can pretty much play anywhere on the field, depending on the scheme. A couple other guys in the first round mix. We mentioned Roquan Smith. How about Lorenzo Carter? Had an outstanding combine showing, and just to take a look at his size, his measurables, it's going to be hard for this guy not to be taken in the first round. I think an NFL team will definitely fall in love with him. And we talked about Marcus Davenport on the defensive line. Well, at the linebacker position, it's Leighton Vander Esch from Boise State. And there was some buzz with this kid coming out of that bowl game performance. Then he declared early, went on, had a great combine, and this guy has maybe improved his draft stock more than any player in college football since December. In the first round mix, some people are calling him a one-year wonder, and teams are going to have to value that production of 1 year versus some of these other guys who have a more proven body of work. And, where was Vander Esch the past couple seasons before this year? Couple sleepers or other interesting names, Josh Sweat from Florida State. Here's a guy declared early, didn't really get some of the buzz and hype of some of these underclassmen, but he's got like that Jason Taylor frame when I watch him. I think this guy can be a disruptor at the next level. And then Washington State, Hercules Mataafa. I mean, I think he took a lot of criticism for declaring early, maybe a bad decision from what you hear. A guy with an extremely high amount of college production, but could slide until day 3 of the NFL draft.
All right, Rick, a few things that come to mind with these guys, and it's intriguing to me because I see it at the beginning of the collegiate careers with the recruiting guys that I talk to on almost a daily basis, and where these guys are ranked and who have the big pub coming into college. And then you see it on the other end in regards to the transition to the NFL. So you mentioned Josh Sweat, and he was the man. He was a stud, 5-star, can't miss, and he had a very good career at Florida State. But it's interesting to hear him termed as more of a sleeper, and that's what happens in terms of the scouting and transition from one level to the next. A guy that was like can just walk on, plug and play, just amazing talent that's a bit under the radar in terms of his transition to the NFL. Vander Esch, I believe, Rick, this may not be in your research, but what's gotten him on the radar with the NFL scouts is that MarkRogersTV named him the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year for 2017. And I think that just jumped him on to the map. I think that was it right there.
That was the rocket launcher of his career right there.
Yeah, there's
hopefully you get an autographed jersey or something in return.
Josey Jewell, because we talk about this all the time, guys that make plays and produce in college, but are they going to transition to the NFL? And Josey Jewell, I would be interested to see if you have much on him, just because as a collegiate player, wow, he's what you want to lead your team, make the calls at linebacker, make the plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a pure football player to me. This guy is, give me 53 Josey Jewells, because, at the end of the day, he didn't test like NFL scouts want to see. He didn't, his athleticism, his measurables aren't going to jump off the stat page to you. And, he might not check off all the boxes from a physical standpoint, but from a mentality and a football standpoint, this guy's a gamer. He's got the production. He's got the intelligence. He's going to be a probably mid to late round selection, and he's going to wind up outplaying a lot of linebackers that are selected ahead of him.
And then the other guy that comes to mind at this position is Jerome Baker from Ohio State. He had a big 2016 in limited duty. So if you're looking especially at Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, they got so many dudes that they can't play all the time. So they don't maybe rack up, most of them, the statistics. But Jerome Baker was expected to have just a monster 2017. He didn't necessarily pile up the stats because he was given a bigger role and on the field most of the time. But Jerome Baker obviously in the mix there. And then, Rick, you know better than me that I would say 10 to 15 years ago, we hit a place in the NFL and the way defense was played that you started to have to determine and project how many DNs would become outside linebackers and vice versa, what that transition might be at the next level. And now it almost takes place there, but also or outside linebackers to safety. There's some guys that'll transition one way or the other there.